everyone, good afternoon. We did get a ripple of applause for the fantastic band that we've had playing on the way in. That was the Blessed Souls, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much. And good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the December Chamber Lunch and, of course, the last of 2023. We will get on with the Christmas festivities. We will have a panel a little bit later on, and on the table you will find some QR codes. Get your mobile phone out, scan the QR code, then you will be connected to Slido for our in-room survey. Before all of that, the serious side of things and our welcome to you today. For those of us fortunate enough to be celebrating the festive season with loved ones, it will be a time to reflect on 2023 and look forward with hope to the year ahead. It's hard to believe that we're already 1 year on from the Lacombe 2 and the Haute de Monde tragedies that shook our community at the end of 2022. As islanders stood together to commemorate with those lost and who were impacted by both tragedies, it was also a time to contemplate the events of the past year. We are, of course, disturbed by the daily reports from the Israel-Gaza conflict and the ongoing unrest with the troubles between Russia and the Ukraine, which continue. Much closer to home, islanders in Jersey and Guernsey were seriously impacted by the effects of Storm Ciarán in November, and those who were forced from their home who were still trying to resume some form of normality. As ever, the acts of human kindness and the personal generosity from the community is evident regardless of where the world tragedy besets us. It's an extremely disappointing time, however, that there's still a disturbing lack of governmental stability in countries all over the world, not least in the UK, and may I say, even locally. It defies belief, for instance, that one of the first matters to be debated in the States Chamber in January will be to agree the names of the States members on the roll call and the order they're called in future sittings. Obviously, that's quite crucial. As has been the case with many top priority issues, political spats and the seemingly pointless squabbles appear to be taking up the valuable time and, of course, the taxpayers' resources, instead of addressing the matters vital to the ongoing well-being of our islanders and Jersey's reputation as a credible international finance centre. Chamber have repeatedly called for the solutions to the ongoing NEU teachers' dispute, and we've found to have talks with them, both with the government and the SEB. We've been trying very hard to bring everybody to the table and running between them all as Chamber on behalf of our members who, of course, are affected. Whilst one union, the NASUWT, has called off industrial action whilst considering what I believe is a very good offer, and they believe it too, for that matter, it's also very disappointing for the NEU to be continuing with strikes, especially when the new offer is fairly close to what we understood the NEU would agree to when we had discussions with them. I can only imagine the frustrations of the negotiators, the teachers, the government, the employers, the parents and the pupils, who are all being affected this week. We've also been engaging with Condor and the government to better understand the issues and the factors regarding the significant price rises and the consequences this will have on the wider supply chain. We've continuously liaised with the Chief Minister, Economic Development Minister and the Treasury over the government's plan, particularly in respect of fuel and alcohol duties, and are pleased to see that some of our views have been taken into account. Although the largest of the hospitality chains wrote to me personally today, and I think it's really worth reiterating his words as the largest of the hospitality chains in the island. He says, the hypocrisy of suggesting that further duty increases is addressing the health issues surrounding alcohol is just a guise to generate revenue. You don't need to be a rocket scientist to realise that the public, in many times of austerity, will always look for the cheaper solution, and the problem you think you are addressing is just going to be driven underground. He goes on to say, I do now fear for my staff, my fellow colleagues in hospitality. The decision taken yesterday is now placing the future of this industry and all of its staff in jeopardy. Sorry to be so serious, but I wanted to get these messages over to you today from some of our members. In addition, Chamber have also continued with their support in relation to the Les Sablons development, which of course is ongoing. In its role as the independent voice of business, Chamber uses an ever-collaborative approach to persuading those in power to do the right thing for our community, for the benefit of everyone. We must look forward positively, and as we wish you the very best for the coming year, please rest assured that Chamber will continue to do whatever is necessary within our power to ensure that our members and the wider community are supported. As always, Chamber lunches are not possible without the support of sponsors. And to this end, I'd like to invite Paul Acton, the CEO of Shaw Jersey, to take the stage to say just a couple of words. Paul.
Great, thank you, Murray. Great to see such a festive mood. So as it leads us into the wrap-up for 2023. So just to sort of share a few thoughts, a few words with you. So it's great to see so many of you here, and that the engagement with Chamber remains very strong. Even this close to the end of the year, Sure Business is proud to support the Jersey Chamber through our sponsorships and engagements throughout the year. I'd like to commend the team at the Chamber for the excellent work they do throughout the year and achieving such strong turnout, as we can see here today. It's always been brilliant, and I'm sure you'll join me in offering a big thank you to the whole of the Chamber team for their hard work throughout the year. So just as a sort of a couple of points of reflection, I'm saying that 2023 has been a year of considerable events when we reflect on all the various challenges that we as a business community have had to deal with. We've fared our way through cost of living crisis, high interest rates, international wars, supply chain constraints, and even climate events like we had through Storm Ciarán. But we've made it, and we're all here through our resilience, tenacity, and determination. And despite these challenges, when I look at the industry that we're from in terms of technology, it continues to grow and encompass fast-paced innovations. When we look back at 2023 from a technology perspective, one topic has dominated the popular news agenda, which was artificial intelligence, or AI as we'll commonly hear it referred to. And then we've all heard about ChatGPT, Google Bard, and all the things it's going to do to make our lives so easy. Plus we've heard from Elon Musk's prediction about the drama, of existential sort of impacts that it's going to have on our society. And then we've seen Sam Altman from OpenAI being fired, rehired, and all in the blink of an eye. And I note that AI didn't predict any of that happening. So there's still room for us to continue with our contributions to all of that. But as AI technology is evolving, especially in the generative AI space, that makes it a challenge for any business that has to have a defined position in relation to AI. But as much as it's presented as having its challenges, it's also a huge opportunity for businesses. And a thought that I'd suggest for consideration is that if competitors are adopting AI capabilities into their businesses and gaining measurable advantages from it, and we've reference points to that right around the world, then it's to think about how that will impact businesses who don't have a response or a plan, and how that gap will open up. So for sure, we're working with industry-leading companies in the AI and high-performance compute area, and we're proactively investing in the positive impact that it can have on what we do, and how we can provide these essential capabilities for your business. So for Sure Business specifically, we're reflecting on another year of growth and evolution here in Jersey. Our team now provides more products and services than ever for businesses of all sizes. We've expanded our range of partnerships too, so that we now have more blue chip tech partnerships working with us to provide you with the best-in-class solutions and services for you and your businesses. We have a huge uptake this year in solutions we provide to businesses, from your Microsoft Office 365 solutions, all the way through to sophisticated high-performance cloud platforms. And this reflects the fact that all the businesses are increasingly digital. And for me, it's of vital importance that Sure stays at the forefront of the latest technology on behalf of our clients. and which is a pledge that we commit to do going forward. So thank you again to the Chamber for organising these lunches. It's been a privilege to sponsor these events, and thank you for all coming and showing your participation here. And on behalf of everybody at Sure Business, we hope you all have a wonderful Christmas season, however you spend it. And as they wind down to the end of 2023 and take that well-deserved break, thank you all, and wish you the very best for the holiday season. Thank you. Thanks, Mary.
Thank you, Paul, and thank you indeed to an awful lot of people that we've got to say thank you to. But before we do, joining Paul and Adam Budworth, our president, on the president's table today, we have Mark Cox, the chief executive of the Channel Islands Cooperative Society, Chris Hoyland, the owner and director of Atom Water Pump Solutions, Carl Walker, who is the chairman of Jersey Consumer Council, who should be joining us very shortly. We have the Chief Minister joining us very shortly, Deputy Christina Moore. Excellent. Paul Murphy, the Chief Executive of Jersey Business. Alan McLean, former Minister for Economic Development and also Treasury and Resources. And Robin Smith, the Chief of Police for the States of Jersey Police. And in terms of thank yous, in terms of those thanking Chamber doesn't operate without its members, and certainly it doesn't operate. And also Victoria McInerney as well. I do apologise, Victoria. Didn't have you down on my list for a moment. From AFM, it's good to have you with us on the President's table as well. My apologies. From that, we move to some other thank yous that I would like to make. Personally, we don't operate without a president and a vice president. So Daphne as vice president and Adam as president, thank you for your incredible support throughout the year. We can't do it without your guidance and your steerage, so thank you very much indeed for that. And to all of the chairs of all of the committees that run through all of the businesses that we have on the island, thank you to them as well. Also, we have some people to thank who are welcome today, and I expect a big cheer for each table. So we welcome to our corporate tables GR8. Yes, it'll get louder. Integritas Wealth Partnership, hello. Legally and Loose. Moderate lawyer's response. Grant Thornton. Open the wine already. Virtual HR. Park. Law at Work. Digital Jersey. Thank you, Tony. Quilter Cheviot. And JE3.com. Yes, the corporate tables are in the house, and they'll be wearing the hats very shortly from the crackers that you see before you there. We also have to thank our suppliers today. Our supplier sponsor is Randall's, and they've sponsored all of the wine and all of the soft drinks that you may or may not be drinking today. Remember, we have the Chief of Police in today. We also have a Jamaican Blue Mountain coffee to be served at the end, and our thanks to Cooper's Coffee for supplying the coffee, which will arrive at the very end. Our suppliers, Delta providing the AV, Photo Reportage taking the photographs that will be in the February edition of Connect magazine, who give us 4 or 5 pages every month that we're very grateful for. Highlands College and their students who are videoing all today. Why? I've no idea, but I'm sure it'll be of use to someone in bribery and corruption in years to come. And just to keep us on the data collection side, don't film the next bit I do, or the bit later after the lunch, please. The Propel Forward, who are our data suppliers and our security operators. So thank you very much indeed to Paul and the team from there as well. And our thanks indeed to Paul for coming up and saying a few words to stay. We very much appreciate that, you and your sponsorship from Sure today. Seamlessly, that leads me on to our survey. You can see that 58% of people wanted turkey and 4% are going for the vegetarian option. Poor you. Right. The other results from our survey, just so you know, who's in the room today, let's have a look and see. You are 40% Newsnight watchers, you're 33% repair shop. I'm a Celebrity is 15% of you out of choice, and of course 12% of you like Married at First Sight. Yeah, those laughing, you know who you are, don't you? You know who you are. Chief Minister, I'm shocked, but thank you. Our next question was about the teachers. We sympathise and support you striking to get a better pay deal. 34% of you sympathise with the teachers. Stop striking and go back to work, 48% of you. and 18% if you like the idea of them only striking during the school holidays. Excellent choice. Chief Minister didn't vote on this one, abstained, I think it would be fair to say. If Christina Moore was not the Chief Minister, and you could vote for one of these, who would you pick? You see the results before you there. Not being political myself, of course, I won't comment much further on that. But they were a random selection that we pulled out of a hat. Could have been anyone, honestly. Lying. Wind farm, yes or no? 84% of you want a wind farm in our waters, as opposed to 16% who don't. Move to the other side of the island. Okay, right. Then you don't look at it, but you get no electricity. Broad Street, open to traffic, yes or no? 33% saying open it to traffic, and 67% of you say no, keep it closed. Knowing what you know now, would you have built a hospital at the People's Park? 67% said yes. You can expect to see that back on the agenda before too long, ladies and gentlemen, with a feasibility study over the next 10 years. Would you incentivize post-grad students to return to Jersey with a tax-free break in the first working year? Something we've raised quite a few times. 78% of you said yes, please, and that means 78% of you have got students who are at university at the moment. Excellent. Bank of mum and dad. Christina, CM, Hanno government, you've been in office now for 519 days today. There is a calculator that works it out. I think we'll put it above Norman's because they need something there now. How would you mark them? 2% said you are just too fabulous. 10% said you guys are pretty good. The majority, 44 of you, said, well, you're okay, but you're just okay. 22% said, I'm surprised, you're a lot worse than the last lot. 13% said, get a grip, this is woeful. And 10% said, please close the door behind you, which was the cleaner version of that we put up there. And to our final question, the economy. How do you feel about the future of the Jersey economy? 3% said very confident, 32% say pretty cool about it. Seriously, I'm worried. And 2% said I'm cacking myself and packing my things now. We just thought we'd put that up there for a little bit of fun, but also for a little bit of a read of the room as well, because we're going to have a panel coming up very, very shortly, and we'll introduce you to that panel in just a few moments. Before we do all of that, though, Sam, we'll have a look back at the year, shall we? Excellent. We've got it up there. Good. So this is my own personal look back at the year, so forgive me. Adam's let me off the leash, so God help me, quite frankly, I have no job tomorrow. However, I love this story, 2023 and all that stuff. I know that our police chief's in, and I know that he will remember this very, very well. This was the story of the unexploded bomb. Yeah, which somebody, you were in the station at the time, excellent, and someone walked in. I just love the fact that someone walked in and said, oh, I've got an unexploded bomb. And Sam, is this the one that says 1312 presentation? It is. Okay, fine. Anyway, they walked in with an unexploded bomb, and they thought they'd bring it to the police station because that was a really good idea. So we'd like to thank them for doing that. And it brings us nicely on to our lunches for this year. The Chief Minister was in January. Former Chief Minister of Guernsey, Gavin St Pierre, in February. Dara from JT was along telling us all things to do with them in March. Sorry, Shaw. The LG was here, the Lieutenant Governor. We had the Lieutenant Governor with us, really interesting in April. My favourite speech, and it's not because the Chief of Police is here, but I really do genuinely believe it was one of the most insightful of all the speeches we had, was from Robin Smith. And I'm going to pause at that moment and say, on behalf of all of us during Storm Ciarán, thank you very much indeed for all that you and your team did. You kept us all pretty well informed. I think you did a bloody good job. Thank you. The niceness stops there. Kirsten Morell was next, told us about the population and how we need 150,000 people by 2040, or we need another plan. And then he showed us another plan and they said, no, that won't work either. Matt Palmer came on and told us all about cybersecurity and how he met his wife, which we found fascinating. Harvey Billion, you see what happens You remember it, Tony, don't you? God, don't know where he's going with this one. Then we had Harvey Billion. Harvey Billion came along just to talk about how successful the Jersey Reds are. The timing of that was bloody brilliant, because that was September. A week later, Elaine Miller, she came up and stood behind this podium, and no one could see her. But Elaine was here from Social Security, and look at me, 6 foot, and come and talk to us about Social Security and how she'd listened to Chamber and was going to ignore us, and she was going to bring in the minimum wage when she wanted to. And then Matt Thomas was here in the last month talking to us all about Ports of Jersey. So that's our lunches, and if you missed any of them, don't worry, we've got some really special people lined up for next year as well. So that was a review of our lunches. That's going back to the bomb at the police station, which I it's a BIM. I put that in for you. If you're looking to get away, the holidays are already been advertised. Getting off the rock, I can offer you Southampton, Le Havre, Rotterdam and Copenhagen, 5 nights, cabin, full board, West End show, fitness spa, £319, ladies and gentlemen, £319. That is on offer at the moment. My alternative offering for a holiday for you is a return trip on Condor for £290, which I think is very competitive. Very competitive. My apologies to Condor. I think it's unfair. My apologies to them. I'm taking a cheap shot there, and there's more to come. My apologies have actually come in from the media. I like it when the media actually apologise to us. BBC Radio Jersey have apologised for all their new presentational staff who cannot make any pronunciation make sense when it's got a Jersey name in it. They're finding it very, very difficult to pronounce them. They said, in fairness, they did speak to Mr. De Grucci at St. Owen's, and he had the same problem as well. So we've also had an apology in from ITV as well. ITV have apologised to everyone in the room tonight. If you're watching ITV Channel Report tonight, unfortunately, it won't feature Peter Roffey from Guernsey at all, which I know will be a great disappointment to you because he has appeared so many times this year. Peter Roffey, the only person in Guernsey. Has been on every Channel Report this year until tonight. He's been on Channel Report more than Jess Dunstan, and that's unbelievable. So sadly, no Peter Roffey tonight, unless they can shoehorn him in somewhere with a comment about something standing in a Guernsey in front of a greenhouse that's fallen down. The other story that, of course, we had to survive this year was the gas outage. There was no gas, so the restaurants were in a bit of a quandary. This story went global, I kid you not, right around the world. Restaurants and restaurant goers in Jersey could only order lobster, crab and oysters. There were people in far corners of the world who were really, really worried about us. But we pulled through on lobster, crab and oysters for 2 nights until they could, a week, 2 weeks. All right, a month until they could fix it. How middle class are we? I mean, it was almost as if we'd run out of hummus at Waitrose. I mean, it was just so bad. What else happened this year? Yes, Storm Ciarán. As you can see, we were told by the police, please stay indoors. And the media said, please stay indoors. Although if you can sneak out and send us some pictures, we'd be really grateful and we'll make you a star. And the Darwin Award, of course, goes to the gentleman down there who decided to go and welcome the waves in down on the seafront. Excellent. So that happened this year. Thankfully, it was only property that got damaged and some minor injuries. So we got away with that one. Now, I'm going to go back, actually. No, I'm not. I'm going to show you that one. Les Sablons. It's a difficult problem, Les Sablons. The building, Broad Street, you with me? Yeah? The one that's not been allowed because the assistant minister didn't like the height of the building. The Minister of Planning couldn't make a decision on it because he was once a member of the National Trust. So he stepped back from it. He put his assistant minister in. She said, no, you're not having it. Then the Royal Court have ruled that's unlawful. The chief minister can't make the decision because the chief minister says she was disappointed at the assistant minister. And who else can't make the decision? There's quite a few others that can't make the decision. Oh, yes, the planning minister can't make the decision because he's now supported the assistant minister. So we've got to find somebody to make a decision about the Broad Street development. So the options we've got, Simon, He might be conflicted, although he says he knows absolutely nothing about Broad Street and has been saying that for 2 years. Brian drinks in the Blue Note, and quite frankly, he's seen more of Broad Street. And the third option is Peter Roffey from Guernsey, of course. But fear not, Chief Minister, I have another option for you. What you need is no high-paid consultants. What you need is a pile of people that actually know what's happening in the island, finger on the pulse. They don't drive very much, so Broad Street won't matter to them that it's going to be pedestrianised and is pedestrianised, so that'll be fine. And they have an opinion about everything, and they're always right. Ladies and gentlemen, our new consultants. Yes, you know it's true. The taxi drivers of Jersey, who I will not be using for the rest of the year and most of next year, can normally be found, normally can't be found, actually, no. Although sometimes can be found. They can sometimes be found at the airport, occasionally, but not when it's raining, and because the weather's bad, and not when it's sunny because they're on the golf course, and not any other time. You know, the new visitor economy, we are very much looking forward to seeing what the new visitor economy strategy is going to look like. We've been waiting for it for forever, actually. But I'm told it is going to be released. It was promised to be released in 2023. Am I right? Right. Exactly. And it will be, and I've just heard that it's going to be on the 29th of December that it's going to be released, so it's screaming in on 2 wheels sideways. So we will have that, and that's going to be of great comfort to the 6 hotels and the 14 restaurants who are still left standing in 2024. So good news for them. We're looking forward to some of the other delivery that's coming in as well, and we'll see what happens then. It's a busy time. It's been a busy, busy time. It's a busy time this week for the Chief Minister, who's got to go back to the States Assembly. I know David Warr will have to go back very shortly as well. He's at the back of the room there, hiding by the Christmas tree. Yes, we see you, Housing Minister. They've got to go back to the States, and it's a busy time. They're grappling with the government plan and a radical new idea, which is you go to work on a Monday at 5 and you work until Friday, 9 till 5. So it's a whole week's work, and I know it's difficult for you, but the rest of us have to do it as well. So we wish you well with the government plan when you get back into the States a little bit later this afternoon. Finally, what have we got for you? Ah, yes. A bridge too far or not? This is the kind of speedy decision-making that we need, ladies and gentlemen, in government. On the 24th of October, the minister, accidentally or on purpose, managed to mention that a bridge to France would be a feasibility that we should look at. And everyone went, what? The Chief Minister went, what? We went, what? Something? And then on the 28th, 4 days later, on the 28th of October, the news story was, this is not going to happen anytime soon, this is just not feasible. So we'd gone 4 days for a feasibility study on a bridge to France from the Minister of Economic Sustainability. And that is the kind of speedy thinking that we need from our leaders right now, is to create something that's not going to happen and then tell us it's not going to happen 4 days later. So we'd like to congratulate that speedy decisioning, and just to let you know that the rocket launch to the moon is not going to be happening as well, just in case you were worried about that as well. So our thanks to our government for doing what they do. There is a waiver on the side there to any of the comments that I've made. The views and opinions expressed in this sideways glance at 2003 are not those of the Jersey Chamber of Commerce, so I'm resolving myself of that, Adam, so you're okay there, and do not necessarily reflect the official policy. For clarity, they're the musings of one person, supported by a well-known drink supplier late last night. And if you have got any complaints, then please send them to Peter Body, care of the JEP. It's nothing to do with him, but I just like the idea that he might get some complaint letters, because that just cheers me up no end. Ladies and gentlemen, it's our review of 2023. There was much more, but it was far too rude and I couldn't include it. Thank you very much for listening to that. We will move on from that to our panel, you'll be relieved to know. You're too kind for me stating the bleeding obvious. I cut out an awful lot, I'm not going to tell you. So to our panel today, a hand-picked panel that includes a past president. We have past presidents in the room today. Elliot is in the room. It's his birthday today. Happy birthday, Elliot. predecessor to Jennifer Carnegie, who was our past president. Jennifer, please come and take your seat. You can have a choice of 3. Jennifer is one of the founders and directors of Amicus Change Management, and we're delighted that she's with us today, and of course is our past president, as well as holding several, wherever you want to sit. Choose.
Near you, Murray.
Always worries me. We also have the Chief Exec of the Consumer Council. Chairman, you're the Chairman of the Consumer Council. Thank you very much indeed. Carl Walker. And we have we always like a former politician in the room. It's always good because they always give you plenty of good thought. He's the former Economic Development Minister, as it was then, before it changed names to something else, and was the former Treasury and Resources Minister as well. Alan McLean. They're all tie-clipped up, and they should all be working, which is excellent news. Good to have you with us. Thank you very much. Questions from the audience are always welcome at this stage, because I know that you'll have some for our panel. But just to get a few things underway, where can I start with these? Let's start with the Bridge to France. Just for the heck of the Bridge to France and something light on that. Jennifer, is a connection to France, is it worth it? A connection to Guernsey, let me say it, is it worth it? Is it a bridge, is it a tunnel, or is it just pie in the sky?
I think us being more connected with other jurisdictions is something that we definitely should look at, given the shortages of skills and what have you that we have on the island. In terms of actually getting it done, I think that might be a challenge.
I think you might be right. All right, Carl, any thoughts on a bridge? Or I mean, you saw that news story coming up, and you must have remembered printing a story similar to that back in your day at the JP.
Yeah, I think it's done a few cycles now.
Yeah.
On the face of it, you might think for 4 days at least, it could be something that's worth exploring. It's a good idea. From a consumer perspective, we're always keen. Consumers are keen to have as much choice as possible, make things as competitive as possible. But all it would take is one super large French retailer to dump a hypermarket on the other end of the bridge to totally wipe out any choices that islanders have got here. So it will be counterproductive in the long term. A nice idea initially, but not one worth going down.
Is there a politician's answer at the end there, Alan?
Well, the cost of a bridge of that type would be absolutely astronomical. The connectivity is attractive, I suppose, at one level, and the opportunity to get products and services in that be more cost-effective for the island would be attractive. But I just can't see it having the remotest chance of getting off the ground due to the costs. Good.
At least we know the mics are working now, which is excellent. Let's go to another meaty question. How do you think the government are doing at the moment?
Who's that aimed at?
All of you, but we'll start with you, Alan, if you want.
Oh, well, I wasn't volunteering, but I'll carry on. Well, I noticed with interest the survey result, OK. As far as I'm concerned, for Jersey, OK isn't good enough. We set our standards a lot higher than OK. And we need the government to be a lot better than OK. Having said that, I do think that everybody here in the room has a role to play. And when elections come around, I certainly did some work with some colleagues before the last election, trying to encourage people to stand. And it's really difficult getting people to stand for government. You can't complain unless you're prepared to stand. And we need to raise the standard all round the decision-making, and you need better quality people in some areas. Don't get me wrong, there are some very good politicians and there are some good quality ones, but we haven't got enough to improve the decisions that are being made at the moment, or more to the point, that aren't being made. And I would just make one final point on that. I suspect decisions are not being made because politicians are fearful of making mistakes. Civil servants are certainly fearful of mistakes. It's a terrible culture we're living in at the moment, driven by the media, driven by social media. And that's why people wouldn't stand, because of the toxic environment. We've got to change that if we want to move this island forward and get it back to where it was and have a good, strong future, which I strongly believe we can do. But there's a lot of work in order to achieve that.
All right. A lot of nodding going on there. Jennifer, your thoughts?
I think the government have got a really tough job, and I agree with Alan. We've got to stand behind them. You know, there's really, really easy to criticise and tear people down, and a lot of the attacks that the government and ministers get are personal. I don't think that helps. I think a bit of optimism, a bit of us working together. I think within the different ministries in the government, there's been a lot of progress, actually. The stuff that I think the government is finding challenging is all the stuff that cuts across all the different ministries, and a lot of that is legacy from years and years and years ago. So it's really difficult, and it's really easy for people to sit and poke fun at it and say that people aren't good enough. But as Alan said, you know, there's not very many people stand up and be counted and try and help. And I think, you know, Chamber of Commerce and business people as well, we've got a responsibility to be positive and to drive the economy, because our livelihoods depend on it. And so supporting the government for me, okay, people have different opinions, and some politicians are better than others, and some decisions we like and some we don't. But we're not going to get anywhere dragging everybody down all the time.
Sorry,
Carl.
Maury, could I just cut in across Carl just very quickly, just to pick up on that? I think it's interesting. It's very difficult to encourage people to stand for election first and foremost. But if you look at other jurisdictions and you take someone like Singapore, have you any idea what they pay their equivalent of the chief minister? It's the most highly paid role globally for a leader. I think it's about the equivalent of £1.3 million. That'll have the chief minister over there, eyes watering. But ordinary ministers are getting £30,000 or a little bit more per month, almost what politicians here get in a year. So there are lots of moving parts and lots of reasons and things that need to change in order to improve the outcomes. And frankly, I'm sure everyone in this room is interested in outcomes. They're interested in results. How do we get from where we are to where we need to be to get Jersey back to where it was, which I believe can happen.
Carl, you never stood.
Pardon?
You haven't stood as a politician or for election yet. Have you been tempted?
I was asked for the last election, and as I was discussing around the table with Alan and a couple of others, I was very tempted. I'm delving into sort of personal reasons here, but the main driver for not standing was because I've got 3 children at school, 2 of whom are in secondary school, and I wouldn't be content getting elected and sitting on the back bench and counting the small wages come in, let alone the Singapore wages. But I'd want to make a difference. And I'd be afraid of that toxic culture. You know, my dad said, your dad's this, that, and the other. And that is the genuine reason why I'm not ready yet. I'll wait until potentially they've gone through the school system. But going back to the original question, I think the government made a very promising start. It was the change that many people cried out for. I think the immediate recognition that we needed an emergency budget helped a lot of consumers, a lot of islanders. The reduction in social security, the widening of the net for getting people access to benefits helped. But I think now we're starting to see some of the wheels come off, or certainly the nuts on some of those wheels becoming loose. This is going to be a real test of the Chief Minister's leadership. We've elected this government. We've got to stick with it. Calling for change now is just going to put us in a cycle, an unhealthy cycle. The sort of the brains behind the island are sitting in this room, or many of them. And as Jennifer said, we can support the government by keeping them on their toes, holding them to account, getting around the table and giving them ideas and suggestions, and let's see where we are this time next year.
Alan, do you think we're commercial enough as a government?
No. But again, it comes back to fear. I think the fear of making decisions, the right decisions. I mean, productivity is talked about a lot, and the need to improve productivity, and the numbers aren't terribly good. Interestingly, government doesn't even measure its own productivity, which is curious. But in order to be more productive, as the European Central Bank published a report on this, you need to have an open economy, a competitive economy. There seems to be an increasing amount of bureaucracy, an increasing amount of regulation. When you consider the number of small businesses, small and medium-sized businesses, they find it so much harder to cope in that environment. It's really, really difficult. So I think the government needs to really set the framework to break down the bureaucracy, the red tape, and so on. And in fact, the Barriers to Business report that was produced, I'm looking at Paul over there who's nodding, seems to be a good start. The trouble is we've seen an awful lot of very good reports produced by government and bodies that they've brought in to produce reports. But what happens to these reports? It's, as far as I'm concerned, the latest Sustainable Economic Growth Strategy, as an example, What about the delivery? There's a delivery framework, but actually it includes producing a whole load more reports. We don't want reports, and we don't want a strategy that's focusing on 2040. It's fine to have a long-term view, but there has to be an action plan to deliver in the short term. Otherwise, we are going to have some real problems in this island. And the fact that many of you voted to say that you're seriously concerned about the economy, I think 44%, if I saw it correctly, means that there are a lot of people concerned. There are threats out there, a lot of threats, but there are also opportunities. We need to grab them, and we won't do that unless it's easier to do business. And we need to break down the regulatory barriers. We need to be well regulated, but not over-regulated in so many different ways.
Okay, Alan, thank you very much indeed for that. We've got questions coming in from the floor. Jane's out there with a microphone somewhere. Jane, Doug, stick your hand up over there. We'll get a microphone over to you. It's on its way as we speak, and we'll get questions. And anyone else got questions as well, please do let us know. For the panel, on whatever they might be. I mean, I think beef, turkey and goose we've already done, but if there's anything else, do let us know. Doug.
Thanks, Murray. So it's on the Newsnet just now. The government in Guernsey has fallen to a vote of non-confidence during a fiscal challenge and a few months before their money vow. What lessons are there for Jersey in that development, politically and perhaps even structurally?
Good question. Who wants to take this one first of all? Lessons on Guernsey. I believe it's a vote of no confidence, and Deputy Fairbrash has gone. So, Alan, first, we'll go to you.
There are quite a number of people who are dissatisfied with the government in Jersey at the moment. Both externally and, it seems, internally. We had a resignation recently. I was disappointed to see that because, frankly, I would like to see those sort of issues dealt with internally. We don't need to see them in the public domain. And I don't think, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, confidence is the name of the game. People looking to invest in Jersey and do business in Jersey or with Jersey don't want to read about all these things. We don't want to see governments falling. I think it would be terribly bad for Jersey to have a similar situation to what Guernsey's facing at the moment. Guernsey, frankly, has a vast array of issues, but by replacing their government, that's not necessarily the way to get the right outcomes at the end of the day. So I think it's disappointing for them, and I wouldn't want to see Jersey go down that route. What I would like to see is everybody rallying around to try and support this government and get them to start making some decisions and have the confidence to make decisions and make the right decisions that are going to be supportive of, first and foremost, the economy, because that's what brings the money in, that pays for all the services and such like. And at the moment, I don't see that in action happening. But we've got to do what we can, and everyone in this room has a role to play, in my view.
Jennifer, you move between the islands and all the other islands and around the globe. Seeing a government fall in a jurisdiction like Guernsey is not good, and not good for them, but not good generally, is it? And this is going to cause some disruption, and it's going to be a while before they're back on their feet again.
Yeah, well, I mean, first of all, you said this panel was going to be fun.
Yeah, it's been a lot of laughs so far. I said it would be fun for me. I don't know.
I think, you know, as an outsider looking in, we know Guernsey, it's one of our neighbours. As an outsider looking in, your first thought is, you know, it's just almost like a third world country. It's almost like a banana republic, as somebody that maybe doesn't know anything about the island itself. I think it's really, it's destabilising for people in the island as well. And I think it's, if you look at the situation that we've got here, if you look at the situation we've got here, we've got strikes, we've got some discontent in terms of the government, and I think a lot of that comes down to two things. It comes down to good leadership, having the confidence to be good leaders, to make decisions, take decisions and put up with the flack that you're going to get because of those decisions. But it also comes down to communication and talking. So the teacher strikes that you talked about, you know, just the dialogue with people. And so often now, there doesn't seem to be as much collaboration as there should be, where people sit down round a table in a closed room and sort out issues. It is much more about individuals championing their own personal point of view and playing that out in the public domain, potentially for personal advancement. And I don't think that's helpful. I think maybe there's been a bit of that in Guernsey, and I hope they come through it really well. But the government, the island has been at a standstill there for the last 2 weeks. And, you know, it's not helpful for anybody.
All right. Carl, your thoughts on our Channel Island neighbour?
Yeah, I concur with exactly what's being said here. I know they've had I think maybe 3 attempts now to get GST in. They've got a serious black hole. They've been rejected. But I mean, I suppose I'd like to try and approach the question from a slightly different angle, and maybe slightly different to Alan's view of things. I think what's lacking from our government is a vision. If we went out onto the street now and asked 10 people walking down King Street, what is our government's vision for Jersey? Where are we going to be in 2 or 3 years' time? I don't think we'd get 10 answers that are the same, and we should do. And I think from a consumer perspective, from the man on the street's perspective, there's a perception that our government is too outward-looking and is too interested. Whilst I fully appreciate we need to attract investment into the island and it sustains our economy, that sometimes can be seen as that's business being done to the detriment of islanders. And I watched a fascinating documentary recently on Monaco and the government there, and how effectively the Monegasque government wraps its arms around its residents. So they have priority to apply for jobs first and for property first. And the people of Monaco feel like their government is looking out for them and has their arms around them and is patting them on the back and encouraging them to go ahead and succeed. And the government is focused on making that happen for them, whilst also attracting inward investment through other tax means. And I don't think that's happening here. I think, as I say, if we went out there now and asked people on the street, Jersey's government is off in Dubai doing this and over in somewhere else doing that, and we've got teachers on strike, we've got kids. You know, there are children sitting at home today who will go without a hot meal because their only hot meal is when they're in school. That is the actual impact of what's going on. So I think we need a bit of a switch of focus and a bit of communication from our government to tell us, to set that vision, use the experts in the room to help them do it and communicate it.
You mentioned the teacher strike there, and continue with the fun theme of this. The teacher strike, I mean, it is ongoing. It seems fairly... The unions are divided. We had the head teachers agree. We've had one union now that's saying this is a good deal and recommending it to their members, and one union saying it's not a good deal. I don't know how we solve it. Chamber's been involved in a lot of those discussions behind the scene, but is this more than just a pay deal? Is this politicking going on and being played out because you've got one part of the State's Assembly very, very much supporting the teacher strikes and the union, and you've got a lot of the rest of government not supporting it. So how do you resolve that? Because it just seems that this is not about the deal anymore. This is about making a stand. And that makes it almost impossible, doesn't it? We're just left with, as you say, kids not going to school, and people shuffling their holiday leave and trying to get into work. It's a bit of a debacle all round. But you're the new chief executive, Jennifer, of the States of Jersey. Sorry, Andrew, you've lasted a couple of minutes, but what would you be advising? What would you be saying?
Well, I don't know enough about the details of the ins and outs. I understand the kind of overall principles about why the teachers are striking, but I'm not read into the details. I wonder if it's about more than pay. I wonder if it's about culture, and I wonder if it's about people feeling supported and people feeling a sense of belonging to the organisations that they're working for, feeling that people have got their back, feeling that they've got opportunities as a career. I wonder if it's about that rather than pay. And maybe as a solution, again, I don't know the detail, but it needs to be broadened out to not just be about money, because money, we know what's going to happen. The minute if there's an increase put on the table, everybody's going to want that increase. And there's only so much that we can afford as an island. So, but it's not, when you look at all the surveys about what people want from work, pay isn't usually the top one. But people don't want to feel that they're coming to work to be undermined or undervalued either. So I think there's maybe something wider that we need to look at, because if we just give people more pay, will it make them happier? I'm not sure. All right. Any other thoughts on teachers that you've got, guys? We'll take
we shouldn't have got to the position we're in. So something's broken down in discussions, negotiations, and what have you. But I mean, from the government point of view, as I understand it, and I don't know much of the details, similar to Jennifer. The pay offer that's been put in place seems reasonable. If that's broken, then and they exceed it, then they're going to have to go back to ambulance workers, police, and other public service pay structures. I mean, the cost would just be unaffordable, and it does seem to me to be a reasonable offer that's on the table from what I've read about, similar to, I'm sure, everyone in the room. But it's very disappointing. It's got to have been allowed to get to this stage.
Oh, it's any consolation to you when we did speak to the government, and Adam was with me at the time when we were talking to them about their side of it. They're saying that, look, money's pretty tight, and they said, have you any idea how much the parental employment laws that have just been introduced are costing their 8,000 workers in the public sector? We reminded them that the 53,000 workers who are not in the public sector are also getting the same, and it was brought in by the government. So sometimes they are sometimes their own worst enemy. We are at 20 past, and we promised people that we'd be out of here by 15:15, and so we're already over time. But before we go, I just wanted, and if there's any more questions, now's the point, because after this, we're all going to the bar. So if there is any other questions, otherwise, your positive outlook for 2024. What do you think is going to be good about 2024? That's probably the toughest question I'm going to ask all day. So what do you think is going to be positive for 2024 that's going to have an impact on us?
I think we're going to do well out of the Moneyval assessment. I've got no idea where we're at with that, but I'm hoping that we do really well. And it gives us a new sense of optimism and enthusiasm for what Jersey can offer.
All right, good. Alan?
That's a tough one. I think that Moneyval will be a reasonable outcome. I certainly hope it will be, and that we can move forward. And more to the point, the regulatory environment can be made a little bit easier for business. I think if it is, and if we can deliver on some of the items on the shortlist within the economic growth strategy, then the island, with a hopefully easing inflationary burden globally, will be in a slightly better place to deliver on the agenda that it needs to, so that the island can put itself back to where it needs to be.
Carl, you get the final word.
Well, as a Man United fan, I'm not very optimistic about next year, generally, to be honest. It's a difficult one. I got the dig in before you did, Murray.
Yeah.
I would like to think from a consumer perspective that whilst I think we're in for a tough start to the year with electricity, water and freight charges all going up, our food prices may have peaked, and we will start to see those come down. The property market may begin to recover as interest rates drop in the UK, and Jersey can start to look towards, some success again and light at the end of the tunnel.
Excellent. Ladies and gentlemen, they came up here very impromptu, but you please thank our panel for today. You can run away if you want. It's fine. Go back to your tables. Yeah, no, you want to stay. You stay for a little bit longer. Any more questions from anyone? They're staying for a bit longer. Excellent. We're in for a lock-in. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks to our panel. Just having a look at what we've got, all the questions we've already done. Our future events. Chief Minister has had to rush back to the States Assembly, but the 2024 priorities for government. On Thursday, not a Wednesday, but a Thursday, the 11th of January, there are only but a few tickets left for that, but the Chief Minister will be speaking here in the Royal Yacht in this very room, 11th of January. If you haven't got your tickets, please make sure you get them as soon as you can. Our thanks to our sponsor, Paul, and the team at Shaw. Thank you all very much indeed. Thanks for your great support. It's always good to have you with us. Thank you. Welcome to the Christmas lunch. That's easy. Or going back round again. Let's not go round again. That would be way too much. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much indeed for being with us today. We may see some of you in the bar and around. We might go back to the office at some point, who knows. But we thank you very much indeed. Thank you for your support, and we wish you a very Merry Christmas. Thank you.